Wales 4 from 4, top of their pool, 35-13 win over Uruguay in the final pool match for both these sides. Never really looked in doubt, but boy did Uruguay make these guys work for it. It was only 1 point in it at halftime. Second half, I guess, as often does between the Tier 1 and Tier 2 teams, kind of proved to be the difference between the two teams. Too much class for Wales in the end, but man, as I said, Uruguay made this one heck of a match. It was definitely one where they can hold their heads high, having pushed Wales for as far as they could go. So, yeah, it started with Tipperick with a no-look pass to Ella Davis, and Josh Adams was inside him. If he'd let that ball go, you feel like Wales would have been in for a score early, but Ella Davis maybe didn't see him. He was tackled, couldn't get a pass away, and that was the first of many missed opportunities for Wales in this game. The hands were pretty poor early. I think Wales had 4 knock-ons and Uruguay 1 within the first 7 minutes, so it was just under a knock-on a minute. So we've seen a fair bit of this at this World Cup, and I guess this game was no different in that regard. 10 minutes, Shingler, who seemed busy in this game, he went close down the right wing, but he was in touch. And that was a weird one because it was moments before that the ref at line-out time had been calling for the guys to close the gap, and they never do that. They're always telling them to increase the gap, right, that they're too close. But first time for everything. Yeah, I guess Shingler not used to going over with a winger's positioning, I guess, in his body, but it was close. 14 minutes, Uruguay get warned about a potential yellow card for giving away too many penalties down their own end. And then on 16 minutes or 17, Nicky Smith does indeed go for a try. Wales build a whole bunch of faces. They had advantage, so probably stopped Uruguay from getting a yellow card by actually scoring the try. Yeah, they score the try with advantage, and it's 7-0 to Wales at that point. Uruguay have got some good maul defence. They turn over a Welsh maul slightly inside the Welsh half, so they get a chance to attack. They put on a little great move. It actually created a line break, but the ref deemed it to be a forward pass. It was one of those kind of flat ones where you think maybe out of the hands it was flat or slightly back, but it drifts forward. Maybe they only showed the replay from quite a far way out, but it's a pity for Uruguay that one wasn't given. They could have even gone in ahead at halftime if it had been, but it wasn't. But they did have advantage, so they went back and kicked a penalty to make it 7 points to 3. Amos had a try chalked off. It was a nice little back and forward move with some of the backs. Parks' pass to Amos, the final pass, was deemed to travel forward, so both sides getting pinged for forward passes. So that one was a missed opportunity for Wales. So we're already looking at maybe 3 potential try scoring opportunities, but only one of them, well, one extra one taken through Nicky Smith. 28 minutes. Wales kick it out on the full after being told by the ref, I guess it's allowed in that stadium, that it's been taken back. So that gives Uruguay a chance to attack inside the Welsh half as a helicopter flies over my house. Damn, man, it's like 11:25. What are you guys doing out this time of night? But then, yeah, as they're attacking, they got the line out and Wales just steal it. So a bit of lack of fluidity, I suppose, with both sides. Uruguay actually got a penalty not that long later. The ref was kind of in the way of Ella Davis, and then they got penalised at the following breakdown for being offside. And then from Uruguay's point of view, they kicked it and didn't find touch. So, yeah, it wasn't quite happening for either side in that first half. 34 minutes, Wales go 11 plus phases. Patchell puts in an offload to Nicky Smith, but I'm thinking maybe he should have just taken the tackle, because then Uruguay win a penalty at the breakdown there, and their breakdown work was phenomenal in this game, it has to be said. Eventually, 38 minutes, they kick another penalty, and it makes it 7-6, and that's how it goes in at halftime with a slender lead to Wales. The possession stats at halftime was 62% for Wales. Territory was 73, so they're having the better of the game. Run meters 245 to 118. But yeah, like I said, missed chances and just unable to really quite crack the Uruguayans down. Tackling percentage, though, for Wales was 96% in the first half. They made 45 tackles. Uruguay was at 79. They'd made 71, but obviously missed a fair few more. So penalties conceded was 5 apiece. Wales' knock-ons was 6 to Uruguay's 3 in that first half, and again, that was a theme kind of throughout the game. Start of the second half, not sure what Gatland said. I guess something about speeding the game up, because you see later on in the half they do take a few quick taps, maybe to try and tire the Uruguayan guys out back in their own fitness, despite the fact that Wales are on the short turnaround. Lee Halfpenny, though, to start the second half, has a long shot at goal for a penalty, but it hits the post. They're a bit of niggle between the two sides. There was a bit of tempers apparently at the end of the first half and then at the start of the second, so I guess both sides pretty fired up because it was a proper contest. 48 minutes though, Adams on the left wing. They've got advantage. They go through for some phases. It's 49 minutes on the board. And yeah, Patchell with a long pass. Adams takes it, cruises over, and it's a try. Great conversion, makes it 14 points to 6, starting to look a bit better for Wales at that point. 57 minutes, Wales put on a lot of pressure with advantage. It's another try for Amos, which gets chalked off, and this time it's again Hadley Parks's pass just being slightly forward, so it's another chance begging for Wales. Tipperick said after the game that they left 5 or 6 tries out there, and I thought to myself, what did he say, 4 or 5? I think it was 5 or 6. Either way, I was thinking it's a lot, and then as I read the notes, yep, it's definitely a lot of chances that they could have converted into points, but wasn't quite there at times. It did get better throughout the second half. You'll see that. I mean, you can see by the scoreline. 69 minutes. Is it 69? More like 60. Wales, they go for a quick tap again, and Kiveta, the Lucy for Uruguay, gets yellow carded. He's off his feet at the breakdown. There wasn't really a warning for that one, but it was just killing things off, so he gets yellow carded, and then a few minutes later, it was 64 minutes that happened, 65, Wales get a penalty try, 66 on here, they get a penalty try, they got a maul, it's going all kinds of places, Uruguay kills it off completely, not legally, and yeah, it's a penalty try, so that doesn't count to the conversion counter, automatic 7 points for Wales there, so the yellow card has already cost Uruguay 7 points, but 70 minutes, 71 on here. It's always a minute difference between what's on the actual clock and what's on the official clock. Yeah, Uruguay got a try. Unbelievable. With a man down, they put heaps of pressure on the Welsh defence. They went 10 plus phases. And even with the man in the bin, they managed just to sneak over there. He got really low, put a bit of league drive on, and yeah, went over for the try. This one was not TMO. There was no Ben Skeen involved in this game. So good times for Uruguay. They were celebrating. So that made it 21-13. 7 each in the yellow card period, which if you're Uruguay is not looking too bad. But then 73 minutes. Again, 74 on the board. Thomas Williams, he gets a try. Lee Halfpenny has a mini little line break in the build-up. And kind of good use of the ref from Thomas Williams. I mean, all scrum halves should be doing that, and most of them, pretty much all of them do. If he's standing in the way, you can kind of run around him, use him as a semi-blocking runner. Seen it many times. It's a good, smart play. I don't know if he would have been caught anyway, but either way, it was a very smart heads-up play from Thomas Williams. Puts the hammer down, and yeah, he gets a try to make it 28-13. So it's 14-7 during the yellow card, so it did end up being a bit costly for Uruguay. 77 minutes, you won't believe it. But our favourite friend, Hallam Amos, gets another try chalked off. He's got a hat trick of tries chalked off. This one he can't blame Hadley Parks. This time he just dropped the ball as he was going over the line in the corner. He was doing a little aerial number and dropped the ball cold. So that's another chance begging for Wales. It was a pretty bad one, that one. And then 80 minutes, Uruguay are attacking. They're not giving up. Credit to them for not wanting to give up. I guess it's their last minutes of the World Cup. They get a penalty, kick it to touch. Their lineout's not straight. The game can't end, so Wales get a scrum. I'm thinking Wales will just kick it out. There's nothing else for them to do, but they don't. They keep playing. Keep playing. There's knock-ons both ways. The ref just keeps playing advantage so the game doesn't end. Eventually, Wales win a penalty. Gareth Davis just taps it and he puts the hammer down as well. Has a couple little steps, big steps really, and he goes over for a pretty beautiful looking try, and the final score is 35-13, which which is pretty decent margin in the end. Although, as I said, Uruguay can still consider themselves, pretty well represented by the performance in this game. So, final stats: run meters 714 to 308. So, Wales was certainly doing a fair bit with the ball, not always converting, but hey, it was a much changed lineup on a short turnaround. 66% possession, 73% territory, still maintained a 90+% tackle rate at 91, which is massive and improved from previous games. Although I guess it should be against Uruguay, but still. Uruguay were at 78%, made 156 tackles, which is a huge effort. Wales only had to make 86, so kind of gives you an indication of how the game was going. Knock-ons for Wales, 12. Uruguay 7. Again, it's been pretty common in these games to have 15 or more knock-ons, so it's just part of this World Cup, the conditions and whatnot. So penalties conceded was 8 to Wales, 15 to Uruguay, so that did end up being pretty costly for them as well. Some of the key performers, you'd have to look at Amos and Lee Halfpenny for Wales. Both clocked up 100+ run meters. 6 defenders beaten for Amos, 5 for Halfpenny. Top stuff from guys who hadn't played in the previous game, or even I think the one before. Gaminara and Nieto for Uruguay both made 20+ tackles, so very, very hard-working guys. Never given up, but still not quite enough for them in the end. I must admit, the Wales away jersey, which they didn't play in, but I saw a few people in the crowd wearing the Wales away jersey, actually looks pretty nice. I saw some promo pics of it, and I wasn't that keen on it, but it does look pretty good. A couple of other things I wrote down that were interesting. As I said, the Uruguay turnovers were phenomenal. They were doing great work at the breakdown. Also, Thomas Williams may have a career as a ref ahead of him, because at one point he went to a ruck. The Uruguayan tackler was still there, and he just yelled at him, roll away, or roll, something like that. And boy, did he roll. So, good stuff. Thomas Williams had a bit of impact from the bench. So, yeah. Uruguay once again proved themselves to be a very capable team. Gaminara said in the post-match that he wants more stuff from World Rugby in terms of game time. Kind of fair enough based on this. Tipperick, says they'll need to be better. But again, it was a really changed up team on a short turnaround. So, yeah, I mean, a much changed Fiji team lost to this Uruguay team. So, but yeah, Wales topped the group. All their games won. Bonus point win again, so they'll be facing France, which will be an interesting prospect. What did you guys think of the game? There's still one more pool game to go, and that is Japan up against Scotland, which is on, in 10 minutes. I better go. I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.